In this video, we'll cover 6 psychological tricks that you can use to command more respect almost instantly. To achieve this, we'll be breaking down some of the most commanding presences that we've covered on this channel. Normally, earning respect requires years of demonstrating high character, but there are exceptions. The first trick to immediately command more respect is to upgrade your thin slice. It's dramatic, but we've all had the feeling that we liked someone the moment we laid eyes on them, like in the crazy, stupid love scene. People may form an opinion about someone in as little as 5 seconds. The mistake that most people make here is dressing with the subconscious goal of blending in. Because they're subconsciously scared of being judged. They dress like everyone around them to avoid even being noticed. I don't want to focus too much on this, but there are 2 quick fixes. First, start dressing one level nicer than the situation calls for, which will get you noticed in a positive way. Thin laces are necessarily shallow judgments, and it can be tempting to chalk yours all up to genetic luck of the draw. You don't have to be Ryan Gosling or Emma Stone to have a strong thin slice. That's precisely what you see in Ryan Gosling and Crazy Stupid Love. Secondly, instead of focusing on choosing the most costly brand you can now afford after your style, pay much more attention to selecting a brand that fits and flatters your body type. The next simple trick to sway your thin slice and instantly command more respect is to physically occupy more space. Tony Robbins, for example, owns the space around him when he speaks, and you can see how it captivates his listener. You know that $3 a week, not $2,500, excites him more than even millions of dollars. You know you did it right the first time around, because you broke in the form in $1 million out of your mind. The objective here isn't to invade anyone else's space in some sort of dominance game. Rather, you can always adjust to make more room for the people around you. Subtly communicating that you aren't afraid of being seen with your body is exactly what restrained gestures and shrinking body language do. Physically taking up more space doesn't have to mean huge hand gestures that demand the spotlight. It could be as simple as sitting asymmetrically or taking up your entire seat. Using your own posture is the simplest and least intrusive approach to occupy more space. Just take a moment to roll your shoulders back a little the next time you're going to enter a place. The next trick is closely related to taking up more space and is to get comfortable with platonic touching. Yes, this one is on hold for the duration of social distancing, but generally speaking, most Westerners are awkward when it comes to making physical contact with others. For example, waving hello instead of shaking hands and generally avoiding any physical contact after that initial greeting. However, touch is essential to human connection. Take a moment to roll your shoulders back a few times and increase the space between your bottom of your ribs and your hip bones. This will make you stand taller and make people look at you differently. And not only with lustful relationships, touch is one of the ways Oprah Winfrey connects with people so quickly because it fosters trust and a sense of safety and closeness. Of course, this needs to be done correctly to avoid creating discomfort, so there are 4 important guidelines to follow. First, avoid touching the hands, arms, shoulders, or upper back. Second, limit the duration of each touch to approximately 5 seconds. If you touch someone for longer than that, they may start to feel unsettling. Third, be a universal touch. Make sure to touch those around you with kindness, regardless of whether you find them attractive or not. And you'll come off as confident and nice, but if you only pay attention to one person, you might appear strange, even predatory, and forceful. Now that we've covered body language in our first tip, let's talk about the first trick that has to do with what you say. If you want to instantly command more respect from the people around you, then don't allow yourself to be cut off mid-sentence. Most people find that when you do this, they get uncomfortable and you need to pull back yourself. If you see someone stiffen or lean back, then you've gone too far and need to pull back yourself. Don't be like Seinfeld's close talker friend who is completely unaware of people's reactions. When someone interrupts you in a conversation, it's courteous to stop talking, but if you allow them to intimidate you into quiet, you're implying that their thoughts are more important than yours. This is especially true in group settings, regardless of your political party. If you watched the Republican primary in 2016, you saw that this played a significant role in Trump's ability to portray his opponents as weak as a candidate. He supports federal funding for Planned Parenthood, which is something I disagree with. In fact, he is probably even worse than Jeb Bush. Let me just say this. Just because someone lies, doesn't mean they should step on others and hog the spotlight talking non-stop or even more than others, but to command respect. You should always finish your sentences when you have the floor, even if someone is trying to talk over you. In the next clip, observe how quickly a young Jaden Smith gives up on being heard. Now, compare that to Jaden's father. By entering the room just a bit louder than everyone else and making his sentence unstoppable, he gets his joke heard and garners a big laugh from the audience. Bradley Cooper is eager to join Will's conversational thread. Another excellent example is Russell Brand in the viral interview he conducted with MSNBC. Observe how he doesn't yell. One last note of caution. This is especially important in group settings. If you're speaking with someone one-on-one, you don't need to worry about it as much. Moving on, the next counterintuitive psychological trick is to compliment your competition. Even if you feel justified in your opinion, sharing it makes you look bitter and jealous. Instead, wait until the other person has finished speaking before he defers. This is something you'd like to learn more about. Instead, acknowledging and applauding your opponent's beliefs and accomplishments demonstrates a confidence that very few people possess. Take the example of religious speaker Jordan Peterson discussing atheists and atheism. In some ways, you could argue that 300 to 400 years of brilliant scientists have been doing nothing but laying the groundwork for a non-objective empirical atheism. If you treat your opponent with this kind of respect, people will be more receptive to what you have to say, and will appreciate your admission that there is strength on the opposing side as well. I'm here tonight to share a few thoughts about a hero of mine that I've grown to know very well, Senator John McCain. Alright, let's get back to your own life. Here are some contexts in which this may be applicable. At work, when you compliment a coworker, you elevate yourself as well because you demonstrate your fairness, honesty, and confidence. On the other hand, when you gossip about someone because you think your crush might like them, you actually just make yourself seem insecure and petty and turn off your crush in the first place. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. There are individuals who have the ability to destroy all of their opponents in a manner that inspires immense respect. Muhammad Ali is a shining example of this. He has a gorgeous swing and is cleaner after a rainstorm. But when they arrived for the fight, they would have seen what looked like a colored satellite. This works for Oli and Conor McGregor because, in addition to being in situations where trash talking is accepted, they also have a sense of humor and exaggeration to their statements. Humor is what transforms a potentially arrogant statement into a fun, confident one. The final tactic to instantly command more respect is to be open about your flaws. Mistakenly believe that you must conceal your shortcomings, put up a brave face, and pretend everything is well until it is the truth is more nuanced than that. And that's because people can tell when you're hiding something, especially if you're overcompensating. In actuality, people don't judge you based on your shortcomings. Rather, they judge you based on how you perceive them. This is the genius behind the end of the rap battle in 8 Mile. Instead of trying to pass for someone else, Eminem owns the bad things about himself and wins the battle, which ends the film. It's a big stretch, but you do need to know how to use this trick properly so that it doesn't backfire. The key is all in the delivery. Let's be honest. It was difficult to watch the reaction Brad Pitt received for his award acceptance speech. The guy who gets high takes off his shirt and doesn't get along with his wife. Here, you may address your flaws in a lighthearted manner similar to how Brad does. Or you can present them as a straightforward factual statement spoken in a lower tone, with firm eye contact, no stammer, and a willingness to cast himself in the shadow of his failures or makes a far more interesting conversation. Now that I've changed, all of these tactics work really well, but they are much boosted by deep, genuine confidence. Mastering of emotions, raising your baseline level of happiness on a daily basis naturally leads to increased confidence. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you in the next one. Until subscribe our channel.